Hi, everyone. I'm here again today after a fantastic evening yesterday regarding, of course, the interview I had with Vikrant Gupta, as well as a number of other guests like Richard Vernon, Chris Vernon, Siddharth Vishwanathan, of course, plenty of other guests that'll be here today over the period of time. I'm starting at 9:30, a little bit earlier, 9:30 Australian time. That's effectively 5 o'clock your time, as far as I'm aware. 9:30, a little bit earlier. Yeah, 5 o'clock your time. I don't seem to have much at the moment in terms of audience. It's probably a bit earlier than expected. The reality is this is my 600th video today. This is actually, I've done 416 that are recorded, with a further 184 that are live. So that's 600 videos, 416 that are recorded, 184 that are live. In fact, this makes this video, or this live coverage, the 184th live video. We had, of course, we had Vikrant Gupta on the previous show, and he was there, and I did a quick show, 15-second. I call it I think it's called a bite, or it's got a term that's given to it, where you do a quick discussion, and I updated on the matter of COVID-19. Of course, we have Rishabh Pant that's been quarantined. Am I excited about India versus Pakistan? We're going to get to that, actually, Bishma Bhusan Gupta. In particular, we'll be talking about that. That's another thing we'll be talking about today. The reality is that the World Cup draw schedule has been released, and in that draw there is the highly anticipated matchup between India and Pakistan that'll occur. And I'll go through that in a minute. But first and foremost, the Sri Lanka India situation. Of course, that's the game happening in a couple of days' time. You're talking about the World Cup T20. Yes, exactly, that's right. And the situation for India and Pakistan. But before I get to that, I'll talk about India versus Sri Lanka, which is the series which is about to start in Sri Lanka, all permitting, weather permitting, COVID-19 permitting. Of course, Rishabh Pant's been diagnosed as having COVID-19. He has a positive reading. There's other people in the group. Ridhima Saha, which could be his second time exposed to it. First having it, this time he may have been exposed rather than has. I'm not sure what the level. Bharat also is there. We have also the likes of there's quite a few. There's quite a few players actually that there's quite a few staff, I should say, and the warm-up bowler, the net bowler, that's a term for it. They're all there. I'll just go through the names. I have the names here for you. I'll keep. Yeah, of course. Again, it's Rishabh Pant, Ridhima Saha, obviously. Then the likes of Iswaran. Of course, he is the opening batting sensation, they say, who will actually take the place of, he's a backup opening batsman. He's actually in quarantine, as well as, of course, Bharat Arun. And there are apparently some others. They've received a so-called RT-PCR test, and they've been cleared on that basis, but but they still remain in hard quarantine, pending anything further happening. So yeah, there's also another aspect, the country 11, which includes the Englishman Hazib Hamid, that will play against a warm-up match against England. That's obviously there as well. But probably the most pertinent matter is the one that's come into the biggest amount of publicity now is probably, there's no doubt about it. It have to be based on the whole World Cup draw. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. I'll just pull that up. The World Cup draw, which has certainly been talked about quite heavily, is that there's two qualifier groups that'll have to then first go through to actually make the final stage, and that's where I think there's a fair bit of interest. Who have we got along? We've got Amal versus Good Vibes. There's always good vibes with me. Bubba versus Coley and Punt versus Rizwan. There'd be some great contests there. It would have been better if Coley had issued a public statement apologising for the actions by not advising his teammates to be careful and not worrying. I don't know whether that's going to be placed on the blame on Coley, captain, and he as the captain, he should have been at the forefront of ensuring he sets an example by playing practice matches with Ashwin as with any other country, instead of roaming and requesting more than extended break. He's playing cricket, not with Corona. Look, you can't blame individual players for the Corona situation. It's been pretty ordinary all around, as a matter of fact. There's nothing more. You can't really blame a player as such. I think if anyone, the board probably have a bit more to do with it. But in general, they would have to be. There'd have to be, somewhat common sense. You look what happened to Naresh and Dickwella and the other two Sri Lankan players that were heavily penalised, criticised as to their relationship to going out late at night. But yeah, let's just have a look now at this. So the round one, Group A there's a Group A of the so-called World Cup qualifiers, which will be almost in the same breadth of time. So Group A has Sri Lanka, Ireland, Netherlands, and Namibia in that group. Now, if Sri Lanka can't get through that, there's something wrong with them. And Ireland should have the other option. The Netherlands shouldn't be discounted at all. Group B is Bangladesh, Scotland, Papua New Guinea, and Oman. Now, Oman are a bit of a bolter. Papua New Guinea aren't anything to be sneezed at. But you would imagine Scotland and Bangladesh should get through, but it could well be, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh should be expected to go through. Now, if that is the case, Group 1 will be, as it stands now, England, Australia, South Africa, West Indies. Now, that's going to make it very interesting because I would argue that South Africa are least likely out of those four to get through. But the West Indies could certainly stir the apple cart, especially against Australia. Now, England would be favourites to win that group, but Australia have to get over the top of West Indies. Now, after what's just happened, they're 3-1 down, puts a lot of doubt about that. And then they will have the winner of, to join the winner of Group A. Now, Group A you would imagine would be Sri Lanka, and the runner-up of Group B, which you imagine would be, I'll say Scotland. So you should see Sri Lanka and Scotland group in Group 1, and neither of those two will go through. It's really going to be England, in my opinion, and between West Indies and Australia to make it through to Group 1. Group 2 is India, Pakistan, New Zealand, Afghanistan, with the runner-up of Group A, which will probably be Ireland, and the winner of Group B, which will probably be Bangladesh. So you would argue Group 2, Bangladesh and Ireland won't go any further. They'll make it, but they won't go any further. Afghanistan will be very noble, but they'll be probably not through. Then it will be India, Pakistan, New Zealand. So one of those three sides will not go through. Now, at this point, you'd think India and New Zealand will be the two that will go through, with Pakistan missing out, but you just don't know. Pakistan, like West Indies are in Group 1, they're the smoky of both those groups. I'll go through that again a bit later. That's a quick update now. Which group is a group of death? You'd have to say Group 1 is, because England, Australia, West Indies, all three of those are in contention, and it should actually see Australia suffer. And I'm actually predicting they won't get through that group stage, and with the West Indies to get through, because West Indies have got nothing to lose. I think India will not qualify because we don't have a set team, plus no strategy on how to approach. Unless he suffers like Dravid suffered, he will not care. Are we talking about the World Cup there? Are we talking about the Sri Lanka rematch? What are we talking about there? The reality is that India are specials to get through most of these, and I'd be surprised if they don't get through all the stages of whatever we're talking about. The group of death, the Group 2, which has the likelihood of India, Pakistan, and Netherlands, India, Pakistan, and New Zealand being the three. It all depends how Afghanistan plays. They may rock the boat, but India with either New Zealand or Pakistan. Now, Pakistan plays out of the skin, they may get through, but you would have to think India and New Zealand will get through, and the other group will be England, and I'm going to say West Indies. That's my predictions at this stage, which will be very interesting indeed. Now, I'm expecting a few people to come on. I've had a few people say they will join. I'm not sure what the munching are like. It is a Friday, and it is a working day in, say, England. It's now 12:42 p.m. It's lunchtime, and obviously in India it's now 5:12 p.m. So probably work time. So there may be a bit of a lag for people to get on. So what have we got here, Dr. Rai? Hi, Norman. The Sri Lanka series will come and go. Let's talk about that nice Steve All book in the background. All right, open up for us and show us some pictures from it. I might just do that later. We might just do that later, okay? It's not about series coming and going. You shouldn't say that. Now, Norman, in 2007, we were the favourites and got knocked out. So this is difficult to predict. Well, really, it's the team that's going to be difficult for you is Pakistan. New Zealand are the other team, but Afghanistan you would probably not think so. Well, Bangladesh and say, let's just say Bangladesh and Scotland, I think it might be. No, we're in Group B. It'd be Scotland and rather Group A. Yeah, I can't see anyone. It'll be between India, New Zealand, and Pakistan for that group, and the other group will be between England, Australia, and West Indies, and I'm still thinking India and West Indies. Sorry, England and West Indies on that side, and India and New Zealand on the other. And you probably will still see an England-India final. That's just my prediction, and we'll go through that more later. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a great series. I'll get some street talk out there. We'll get some opinions in the street. So, Norman, if you guys go together somewhere, make sure you to vlog it, because I loved the conversation with you guys where you're having so much fun. By the way, I'm talking about Vic right now. Yeah, he see, there's a Vikram Gupta, like yesterday, was absolutely sensational. The video was live. It was more than 2.5 hours because we had a number of people join later. Richard, Chris, and Siddharth joined later. But the reality is that, that was a great conversation. See, Vikrant is not unlike Debashish Sen, or like Buri Majumdar, like even Akash Chopra, Kuntal Chakraborty, Siddharth, for example, Sumit Bose, Gautam, Bhadarashai. He, and there's plenty of other people that we were a bit of a band. Janaka from the Hindu, he's normally with us as well on some part or another. A number of the other Indian press guys, there's quite a few actually. Deep Descriptive might well be there more now this time around. There's a whole band of us, and we get together because they come and visit in Australia, or we'll go to Sri Lanka, which I'm a bit of a second home for me over the years. West Indies, in particular, Antigua. I mean, with the likes of a Mervyn Richards there, and Shipwreck, who I think I've talked about before. In fact, there's a video that I have in my collection of 600 videos this is the 600th video, the 184th live. There's 416 recorded. They're all there. So please, can we see Vikram and Chell again sometime soon? Look, I think Vikram was so happy about how things went, and I was too. It's a natural lend that I will get him to come on whenever he's got time. I'm sure we'll have other discussions where I'll bring him together with Paspuria, a whole range of other people. Siddharth, we'll have a good natter. There's many series to come. There's the potential of the IPL. There's the potential of the World Cup. There's the potential of obviously the India-England series, and then obviously the India-New Zealand series. Then ultimately the Ashes, can become a conversation. There's plenty of series coming up, and future World Cups in the forwarding years. When I go to India, I certainly will jump. So yes, there'll be oodles and noodles of time. Look, he's a very busy man, and he was only meant to have a small amount of time with me, having 45 minutes, and I probably cut him off earlier. I regret that somewhat now, but I mean, I know that I'm not going to let everything go in the first session. Let's hold a few things back at the next session. So much to talk about. When you're doing interviews like this, or when you're doing conversations with someone, or if you're even interrogating someone, you have to always have something held back. You don't just go, I've got 50 things in my head, I've got to release all 50 things, so as they hear it all and they get it all off my chest. No, in fact, you've got to actually learn, as I do very much, to listen to the other person. Vikram had a lot to talk about. Yes, I sat back and took it all in. Next time I may talk more. It's a matter of judging what you're talking about today. He's such a busy guy, He's also such a humble guy and such a nice guy. He has said yes to a lot of people for their shows, and good on him. He understands people breaking through. He's been in the business for more than 25 years. I mean, I've been involved for quite a while too. I'll be 15, but more so heavily lately. But it's about understanding each other and just appreciating the passion. And as he said, he made some great. I'm going to bring up the points today that he brought up yesterday. I mean, we both have a lot of passion, clear passion. If you don't have passion and drive for this, you won't survive, no matter how good you are. Tarun Reddy 6-0 to India. What? 6-0 to India. What is this, a game of soccer, or what is it? 6-0. There's 5. You mean the series 5-0? 6-0. Tarun Reddy, explain to me what your 6-0 is. Anyway, got to have passion. He mentioned 3 things. He talked about the golden age in India of cinema, crime stories, and cricket. They were the 3 so-called passions, or the romances of India. And even more so, he talked about, as I would agree, with passion. But he did mention a very important word, which I do understand, is loyalty. And, you have your moments with friends and you can bicker and be angry with them, but you're loyal to them because they've stood by you through thick and thin when things have been compromised with. There may be some cases where someone gets a better interview than you, or someone gets the first interview. Well, that's fine. That's part of the course. No one's going to begrudge that. Begrudges are very important, but don't begrudge anyone. So, otherwise, he said passion, loyalty. He talked about skill, which can be learned. So I agree with that. You can learn the tricks of the trade on how to present and be a journalist, whether it be sports journalism on a YouTube platform, or as a YouTuber, as they call it this day, or be it in the written format, or the other social media platforms. Really, social media, including YouTube, is now the mainstay, you would argue. Writing is certainly there as well, especially in the online press. Maybe the print side of it's less. It's probably still regarded as the best, and the likes of Aburi or Galton can certainly attest to that. So Vasant Narayan has said that he thinks New Zealand are such an organised team. They showed us how they plan. I think Conway will open, New Zealand and England are favourite finalists. India may be till the semis. Interesting. I mean, the reality is that at this point, India and New Zealand are on the same group too. So that means they won't play in the semi. So if India do win that group, or New Zealand, it doesn't matter. Those two will not play each other in the semi. The next time they will play each other will be in the final, which is interesting. You would expect England and India to top the 2 groups, 1 and 2, which would imply that they are groomed to be in the final. That is England and India. It does suggest, if they win their groups, that is, which you would expect them to do. And that would mean that you would see England play perhaps New Zealand in the semi-final, and India play either the West Indies or Australia. And I would argue it's more West Indies. So that would leave India playing the West Indies, which makes that a very difficult match for India, because West Indies can do anything. And England will play New Zealand, which will be also a rather, they're not likely to meet in the final if that's the way things pan out, which would mean England play New Zealand. The winner of that play is the winner of India versus, say, the West Indies. And you would argue that it could well be an India-England series. And because of the fact they've had a kind of a warm-up to that earlier this year with the series in India, you'd think that those two are more likely to be the ones. And we are talking about UAE pitches and Sharjah, even Oman, and clearly in Dubai. And you would argue that would be probably in favour, even of Pakistan for that matter, and India, and probably not as favourable for England, but then West Indies could also shock. So, yeah. So, Arun Reddy was talking about 6-0 about Sri Lanka versus India. I would say that's pretty likely. There might be one match they may stumble and Sri Lanka might sneak through, but I think it'll be as convincing as we're seeing at the moment between Australia and West Indies. West Indies are clearly 3-1 up, and they only lost by 4 runs, could have been 4-0 up. The England-Pakistan series, England are well and truly on top, even though Baba Azam scored a magnificent 58. So England are clearly in front there. West Indies are clearly in front over in the Caribbean. I can't see India losing any matches either, to be honest. Sri Lanka are an absolute mess. it may come down to India's availability of players if there's any COVID restrictions, but no. But the one that's probably the most difficult to pick at this stage is probably the India-England series in England, the Test series, the 5-test series. I'm still thinking India 3-2, depending on the fitness and the availability of the Rishabh Punts of the world. If Saha and Punt aren't available and they have to go to KL Rahul, so be it. But yeah, it's interesting to see what happens there. I think the Indian team can have a T20 series with New Zealand. They can plan that in the middle of by setting their B team. It's probably quite plausible. I'm not going to even deny that one. Although let's not call it B teams, and I'm getting a lot of flack about that. It's not an Indian A team or Indian B team. It's an Indian team. It's an Indian team. So it's A, B, or C. It doesn't matter what categorization we give it. It's India being represented. India is your favourite cricketing nation after Australia, right? It's a very loaded question. Sri Lanka and bad shape. Hello, Manajan. You're here. Yeah, Sri Lanka is certainly in bad shape. India is my favourite cricketing nation after Australia. Well, it's not about my favourite at all. I'm just being realistic. There's no doubt that India have been in great form in all formats for some time. So have England and so have now New Zealand. Australia hasn't been. West Indies have been up and down, but they're more up. Pakistan up and down, but they're probably slightly more down. Sri Lanka we won't even talk about. So it's not about them being my favourite. I just have a lot of respect for India. I think their victory here in Australia, well, when I say here, it's in Australia at the Gabba in Brisbane, won the hearts of Australians quite substantially. Not only with Kohli, but with the whole Washington Sundar, even the way that Rahane captained, Rishabh Pant, Natarajan, the likes of Shardul Thakur. The batting performance, where they both got 60 odds and they got 3 or 4 wickets each, was stupendous. They really won our hearts. Now, that's not based on India alone. It's based on the efforts of the people we saw, which was India. So no, you've got to respect a team that comes to Australia and then plays us on our home soil with 9 or 10 players out, down to their last players as such, with Mohammad Siraj, which is still unsung hero, 5 wickets in that last innings, and quite frankly, he needs to be selected for this series against England as well. But the reality is, you've got it was a romance. It was there's a video that under Sri Harsha Cricket, and I've got some of them broken down in my videos as well, where it has over 1 million views. 1 million views. You know why it's got 1 million views? Because what the content actually provides you. Some heartfelt discussion and this passion and this respect for the way India played in that series. We went a long way, and it was the likes of Rishabh Pant. It was Washington Sundar. It was Shardul Thakur. It was even Natarajan that came through with flying colours. Quite impressive indeed. You have to really take your hat off to the way they played, and they're not even in the side, quite frankly, at the moment, as a full side. So Vasant Narayan, stop calling it India B team. It's India. They're playing, some of their players are over another location playing Test cricket, yeah, but this is India. It's no disgrace. I think they can beat the original Indian team. That aggression by the youngsters always helps in winning crucial matches. I agree. I respect this team more than the original team. It's interesting you say that. The records of those players can't be questioned, though, can they? England creamed Pakistan. Are you talking about today? Not now. There's nothing started, I don't think. But England have creamed Pakistan, yes. But Pakistan, Bazar Azam got 158 and actually gave a bit of a shake there to them in that match. So Bazar didn't have any success in the earlier matches, but he did in that 4th match with 158, which is pretty damn good. So India, Pakistan to face off in Super 12s is what's being said, which is interesting. I'm just looking at the press now. Australia's confidence lifted by middle order remains in the spotlight. Agreed. South Africa are none for 187 against Ireland in the 3rd ODI. So I think South Africa are going to try and make up. I think South Africa are trying to bounced back after being smacked by Ireland in the other ODI, and they're trying to make amends. But South Africa are all over the place. They won't go very far. I'll tell you that now. Pakistan got to pick up their performance standards even in away matches. Yeah, they do. Pakistan have a great deal of ability. They have a great sock, as do West Indies. It's a matter of how they are on the day. South Africa haven't got a hope. But West Indies have got a very, very good chance of beating Australia because they've already shown that with winning 3 of the 4 matches that have taken place. Yeah, they're in with a massive chance of really giving Australia. Australia's going to be very worried playing the West Indies. I tell you what, very, very worried. And yeah, that would probably see, as I said before, the 2 groupings, and I'll keep repeating because it's important to get these groupings right. England, Australia, and the West Indies, South Africa is not a hope in that group 1. You would say England are pretty much certain these. West Indies, I think, will beat Australia. So that leaves England and West Indies. And then on the other side, India, Pakistan, New Zealand, I would say India and New Zealand. So that means it still smacks of an England-India final, unless West Indies can upstage them. I can't see, because they'll cross over, and England will probably play New Zealand, and I think England will outdo New Zealand in that format. I think they will. And India will have their hands full with the West Indies if Australia don't get through, and that'll be a handful, but India should prevail there, which will very likely mean an India versus England final in the T20, which is what we really predicted, to be honest. I don't think there's any excuses there. The reason India won in Australia is because all of them wanted to give that 200% effort. In the World Test Championship, we saw players disregarding this and low on energy. If we had the Gabba team in the World Test Championship, who knows? It's a great point. I mean, there's a lot to be said about Washington Sundar. Jadeja, although he's got a great record, and for that matter, Ashwin, probably waned a bit. Jadeja had a very poor match, and Bumrah was the biggest disappointment. He should have played a pivotal match in the game, and really Siraj should have been in the team over him. But that's easy to talk in hindsight. We can't really do that, you know. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if it's anything other than England versus India in that championship. India versus Pakistan. Well, let's go through that scenario just one more time, because India and Pakistan are in the same group. So it would have to be that India and Pakistan both qualify, which means New Zealand miss out. That's going to be a big ask. If that is the case, then India will play, if they win the group, let's say they will play probably West Indies, and England will play Pakistan. And that means Pakistan have to beat England. And it is possible. It is possible that Pakistan and India can play in a final. It is absolutely possible. That would be amazing. Incredible box office, that would be. Whew. And UAE is a stronghold for the Pakistan team. It's where they played a lot of their cricket, short form and long form. So you'd argue there's a lot to be said about that. I'm not exactly against that scenario. It could well be a fair comment there, guys. It's amazing the power of Vikrant Gupta, the numbers, and we're not going to have the same numbers tonight as we did last night, I'll tell you. But, that's okay. I'm not after numbers, I'm after quality programs as well. So, yeah, Animal Love You. I think England, India is the likely final. India versus Pakistan final, as we said before, that, let's not go down that track just yet. We don't know that. What do you think? Which team will play the final with India in the T20 World Cup? We've just been talking about that. Dharam Singh Meena. I would argue that at this point, England's likely to be the one that'll come out of that group and through the semi-final as well. You would have to think that India and England are deserving of being favourites to be through. But New Zealand or the West Indies could easily disturb that, or even Pakistan. They're the 5 possibilities. Australia, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and the rest, Afghanistan, I don't think will get through. They won't have much hope. Australia won't have any hope. West Indies are a threat. Australia went through a slump in the 80s and then in the 90s, started winning World Cups, India has always been in the semis and knocked out. Unless we don't see that debacle, we will not change our approach. Look, I don't think there's any reason for India to change any approaches. The World Test Championship, New Zealand was better on the day, and they just handled conditions better. Bumrah was particularly disappointing, whereas in New Zealand had Williamson, who was particularly impressive. But if you compare bowlers, Jameson and Bumrah, with a direct comparison, I mean, the other bowlers that may match up, but those two, one played extremely well, one played extremely poorly. So that was the difference. But don't forget, both teams made it to that World Test Championship. They already went through a lot of levels to get to that point. So that's pretty impressive in itself. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm waiting for guests to come on. Kashyap mentioned he would be coming on. I don't know where he is. As I said, the time it's a Friday. It's not a Saturday, so it's rather. We're getting lots of examples of these group photos. I'm seeing lots of examples. Kolkata and I was just put out a group stage. They're not even really talking about the warm-up stages because really none of the warm-up teams will have a hope of getting through. Getting through in terms of winning all the way through. I don't think that'll happen. Very unlikely. Yeah, so it's we did talk. I don't know. There's a lot of questions about why India haven't won too many ICC tournaments, but look, they get to them. They get to the final, so you can't say they're not performing well. Yeah, we have taken ourselves for granted, and when England got thrashed by Bangladesh in 2015, that then changed their approach and removed Anderson and Broad and went progressive in mindset. Yeah, look, there's an element of you can't rely on Ishant Sharma opening bowling with certain bowlers with him. They'll have to mix that up for sure, and their batting. A lot of pressure on not Kohli specifically, but about the senior batting leadership in the Test series coming up, absolutely, which is the next contest other than England. Today's July the 16th. August 4th is only just 2.5 weeks away. It's very, very, very close. That's going to be interesting. The most pertinent series is within less than 2 days' time, which is Sri Lanka versus India. And albeit a lot of those players are not Test players yet, they certainly will come into the mix for the WT20 World Cup. Absolutely. Nishan Kishan, Sky, Kumar, even Shigawa himself, Bhuvi and his bowling. There's quite a few players in that side that may well be able to push through and make it back. And Shreyas Iyer, I see as batting again as well. It could be there for the IPL. We've got to remember there's an IPL in between this as well. So, we've got this Sri Lanka Indian series, which will be very important. The World T20 World Cup has been overshadowed. It has. So has even the IPL. The biggest disappointment is the IPL wasn't finished back earlier this year when they went through, 29 matches out of the possible 60. There's sort of 31 to go. If they'd gotten that done, it would have put more emphasis on the World Cup, but they've got the IPL before the World Cup. It's going to strain. It's going to be interesting to see how many people are actually available for that from all sides. And, and England are going to be knee-deep in a 5-test series before they even get to the IPL or to the World Cup. So they're going to have a lot on their mind. But the team that's in India at the moment, in Sri Lanka, are the ones that are best poised to plan for the World Cup and probably the IPL as well. So it'd be interesting to see how much of a nucleus of a side the World Cup team will have from the players that are playing in Sri Lanka. It'll be interesting. Sri Lanka need all the help they can get there in the bad form. I think the West Indies will be one of the teams to beat. Their batting looks formidable, and their bowling for that matter too. And look, the conditions in the West Indies, you would argue, is somewhat like the UAE. There certainly is a bit of neutrality there. The West Indies are incredibly blessed to have some players with incredible experience. I mean, Chris Gale, 14,000 plus runs in the T20 format, the most runs of anyone. Then Pollard's not far behind with 10,000 odd. Bravo with his bowling and the likes of Andre Russell. I'm not sure about Fidel Edwards, but there's a lot of bowlers and a lot of young bowlers like this Haley. I've forgotten his name. I keep forgetting his name. The young spinner, leg spinner, which Chris Vernon knew very well because he played with him. So yeah, that's going to be interesting as well. I'm not sure where. I'm going to just text Kesha because he did say, "I'll join at what time are you going live?" So unless Kesha is still, waking up, I'm not sure. Walsh Jr. Sorry, that's right. Walsh Jr. Correct. He played with Chris Vernon in England, and they have a good relation. Gal is a modern day legend in T20. You can't deny he's scored more than, or not more, but around the 4,000 more runs than anyone else. He's played a truckload of T20s. He's hit a truckload of sixes, and he absolutely took Hazelwood apart. Absolutely took Hazelwood apart. In that opening over thing, you got 19 odd runs against him, and Hazelwood is not to be seen since. And look, quite frankly, Hazelwood should stick to Test cricket. Although Stark bowled well with the last over, it'll only really be Pat Cummins that'll survive that group, I think. Berendorf should be given a go. He looked pretty good. Riley Meredith, well, fast but raw. We'll see how he turns up. Since Paul has become captain, everything is going right for the West Indies. When in white ball cricket, you're right. Kieran Pollard, again, up there around the 10,000 mark with runs. Great deal of experience, great deal of respect. Nicholas Pooran, who was his deputy, let's say, also played well. Andre Russell, there's a whole host of players. They're up at Hetmeyer, my gosh. The Fabian Allen, there are other batters that they had playing there up the order, like Lendl Simmons and Fletcher, and there's a few others. They've got a whole truckload of very good players, this West Indies, no matter who they bring up. And then they got the bowlers. They got Cottrell and O'Shane looked pretty good, but he looked a bit raw. But they've got a lot going on there, a lot going on the West Indies. And the combination of Bravo, Russell, Gale, Pollard, but at a level of experience, enormous. Knowing how to be defensive with their bowling. And not bowling straight out fast, bowling flat out fast. Like, in fact, Stark he bowled a great last over. But Andre Russell hit a six in the last ball. He had another six, the game was over. So they only lost by 4 runs. It was just a bit of slackness on West Indies' part to win that. Although Australia played extremely well, Mitchell Marsh, and he batted and bowled really well, but they had to play at the level best to just pip West Indies. West Indies will absolutely click. Okay. What are my thoughts about Death Group in T20 World Cup? It consists of England, West Indies, South Africa, and Australia. Yeah, I mean, South Africa, I haven't got a hope in hell. And Australia are in deep, deep trouble. And they can't beat the West Indies now. They're losing 3-1. They're going to have to really pull something out of the hat. Even if they have players coming back in, they're disjointed. Matthew Wade can't be the side. So work out what they're doing with their bowling and their keeping and even their batting order. It's a shock. Mitchell Marsh won't even play as a first dropper. So I'm out of that group. You'd have to think England and West Indies. Almost seems obvious. The age factor will catch up with West Indies. That's the only disadvantage. Not in the T20, it won't. You're only on there for 20 overs. You can pace yourself. Injuries can happen, yes. Fidel Edwards, I think, and what's the other bowler? There's another bowler there. Not Fidel Edwards, the other bowler that had some pace about him. I can't remember what he's with him. So I think South Africa might qualify. What past semi-finals? No, they are suffering, and they want to prove their audiences. They're not going to. South Africa in deep trouble. Keshav, how are you?
Hi, Norman. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I'm very happy. As you know, I had a great session yesterday with Vikrant. He was amazing. Did you have him on your show?
I had him a couple of months ago in April for the 10th anniversary of India winning the World Cup in 2011.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he and I, the synergy between he and I is obvious because of our backgrounds, and the people we know, and he's just a passionate person, as you are as well. Look, it's difficult to match that. Not knocking you, but that was quite a presentation. But then it comes down to as well, I believe passion, as I think you heard. I talked about it a bit earlier before you came on. The concept of passion, you can't learn that. You can't grow that. You've either got passion or you haven't. And when you don't have it, you shouldn't be doing this. But he said loyalty, and I agree with that. And I think you know what I'm getting at when I say loyalty. There's certain people that are close to you, but then if they don't treat you well, you lose the loyalty. You have to be loyal. If someone helps you, if I help you or you help me, we've got to remember that. And it's not even a matter of helping each other. We're not in competition. We are a band, a community that we're doing the same thing for the love of it. So we should embrace. I'm happy if you're successful. You would be happy if I'm successful, because there's so much room to move in. It's not a matter of, even if I actually think the more the merrier. If they're good, I want more people. So that's my impression of that. So loyalty was another thing he said. What else did he talk about? He talked about skill, which I think you can learn, but natural passion and ability is always there. And you've got to be true to your word. You've got to be who you want to be, but also respect others. Is that what you got? You watched the video, didn't you?
I did. I actually sent a message as well in the comment section, but you were not really taking any comments from the people.
Yeah, it was a bit hard to take comments at that point because I just took the one that came to mind very quickly. But no, it wasn't really a session. Towards the second half, it was, but when he was on it, he had the stage, so I had to respect that. So how are you been? You've done very well. You've got 2,000 subscribers now, and you're so-called monetized, but that's going to take time.
Yeah,
it's all about. There's no rush. This is my 600th video today.
Wow!
And this is in 6 months, roughly.
Okay.
And 416 have been recorded, and this is the 184th live. So
I'm glad that I'm on with you on your 600th video.
Yeah, that's nice of you.
I like the beard as well. Suits you.
Oh, it's because you can't get me down. You can't get shut. You can't. I'm a person that goes to a barber. I'm old-fashioned. I'm lazy. I don't get up in the morning and shave every morning. I find that an annoying task. I think I'm in there going, what am I doing this for? What do I need to do this for? Who am I trying to impress? It was interesting because Vikram and I talked about a bit of grey. I mean, I'm happy about it. I've got no problems. And to me, it's
I would say that you look better with beard than without beard.
Do you really think so?
Yeah.
I think because it's you know what? Often when you have yourself in a relaxed state, you are better in terms of I don't think looks are based on just purely good looks. It's based on how a person feels. If you're happy, you look better, don't you? If you're miserable, you look bad, no matter whether you're good looking or not. I mean, I know some amazingly good looking women and men for that matter that look terrible when they're in a bad state. When I say terrible, I mean they're not looking terrible, but they don't look their best. Put it that way. All right, just while we've got you here, I've been talking a bit about the England, the India Sri Lanka series, which is the next series we've got Australia West Indies happening at the moment, and look, the West Indies to me are specials to go through the semi-finals in the World Cup. People are saying, oh, they're too old. What a lot of garbage. Chris Gale, 67, smacking Hazelwood, who's supposed to be one of the best bowlers in the world, who bowled quite well, but he just got smacked. Brilliant. And then you got Fabian Allen doing so well, and you've got Hetmeyer doing so well, and you've got, what's his name? I always forget his name. Walsh bowling well. You've got Andre Russell. He's scary. He is seriously scary. I mean, Pollard's not even in there.
What did you think of that Stark over where he bowled 4 dot balls?
They're getting a bit overly excited about him being a great death bowler, but really, it was more to do with the positioning of. I think it was good bowling, definitely, but a lot of it was on leg stump or even further out the leg stump. And Andre Russell was giving himself too much room. He should have realised that and taken a step out and then a step back in, and he could have clobbered it to the leg side, down fine leg or backward square leg. And he hit a 6 off the last ball anyway, which meant he only lost by 4 runs. So it was a bit of a shock because when you got Andre Russell the last over, you expect him to get 11 runs, no matter who's bowling. So I think it was more that Russell didn't perform at his normal best more than Stark bowling well. That's my thoughts.
I didn't catch it live because the timings in India are very different.
Yeah.
But when I saw the highlights, I thought, since it was kind of like a best versus best sort of one final over, one final battle, I thought Russell didn't really perform that well under pressure as Stark did. And it's all kind of like Stark took those first 3 games to get into the groove, and finally, when he found his groove, it was way too late. Australia had already lost the series.
Well, it's almost a consolation then.
Yeah.
If Stark's going to be, claimed to be the best death bowler, he should have done it from the first match. Okay. I'm a bit annoyed when I hear, they took a few games to get involved. You're playing for your bloody country. If you and I would play for our country, we wouldn't say, I need 3 games to warm up. We're going to be on the first ball because you know how important it is. So I don't agree with that. I think the fact is that he didn't bowl well. In fact, none of the Australian bowls, I would argue Zampa bowled better overall. And I think Zampa should be in the Australian side test-wise as well. I like his character. Not like Shane Warne.
For sure. I think they have seen enough of Riley Meredith, I guess. Don't think he'll be making into the World T20 squad.
Oh, he frustrates me. He's fast, but he's not a very smart bowler. He got clobbered the over before. Got clobbered.
But, are you surprised, the same West Indies lost to South Africa 3-2. But Australia, which is supposed to be a better side than the current South African side, they lost this series?
You want my honest opinion there? I don't think the West Indies care about South Africa. I think mentally they were going, we'll get through this. Okay, we didn't. They weren't mentally up for it because you know what? They probably thought they're not going to be important in the World Cup, and that's true. South Africa are going to be struggling to even win a game in their group, except against one of the lower group sides. South Africa. I mean, look at them against bloody Ireland. They got smacked the other day. They're doing well. And at the moment, South Africa, I think they're none for what are they? They're none for 224 at the moment after 35 overs versus Ireland. But the game before they got smacked by Ireland.
Yeah.
South Africa.
And also the South Africa West Indies series, the result was 3-2, but one of the games West Indies lost by just 1 run, so it was a hard-fought series, but Australia's lost it one-sided.
If the West Indies turn up for the World Cup, watch out. I mean, I looked at the groupings for that. You can forget all the qualifiers you can just forget about. They're almost wasting our time. I hate to be rude, but there's no one in those qualifying group. None of them will go even close. Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, if they don't win their groups, they're going to be severely embarrassed. But they're not even going to go through any further.
I have my doubts over Sri Lanka whether they'll be able to make it to the next round or not, because they have Ireland against them, who just beat South Africa. So
I totally agree. I think Sri Lanka are a mess. They're going to get absolutely pummeled by the Indian side. Absolutely, I believe, pummeled. And India, you know why they're going to win so well? Because those players are hungry to get T20 spots. They're going to pulverize Sri Lanka. Whereas Sri Lanka, they don't know where they are now. Yeah. So
another thing is every single week they are changing captains for fun. I mean, they just made Kusal Perera the captain, and now Dasun Shanaka is the new captain.
Yeah,
If you don't. if you don't have stability with your captain who wants to create a culture within the team, how do you expect them to give you results?
Every single Sri Lankan captain over the last, I'll say, 15 years, every single captain, I've been around a lot of them very closely. I think I may have told you that. I mean, I was there when Sri Lanka played and they had Trevor Bayliss and Stuart Law as their coach and assistant coach. And I know them both very well. They were shaking their head because they had the team sheet in front of them. The team that they submitted was chopped and changed by the president. And Sangakkara and Jayawardeneh gave up. Angelo Matthews gave up. Dinesh Chandimal gave up. Dimuth Kularatne kind of conformed, but he's also kind of giving up. This dissolution, they've got some decision makers. I'm not going to go into the detail. They're a mess. They've been a mess for 15 years.
But I think more than the players giving up or giving in, I don't think it's in their control. It's in their hands. Most of the decisions are political. Like, do you remember?
That's what I'm saying.
2019 World Cup, the squad is announced, and suddenly out of the blue, out of nowhere, Jeevan Mendes comes into the squad, who has been absent for 4 years. So
I'm surprised I'm bringing Jai Surya back because he was in politics at the time. I mean, really, it's disgusting because Sri Lanka, pound for pound, are better than South Africa, or you would argue even possibly Pakistan, in terms of their players and their squads. If you know as much about Sri Lankan cricket, they've also got this ridiculous breakdown of clubs now, and their provincial makeup is fragmented. There's political appointees throughout all of them. All the players, there's several players that are very good that are not getting anywhere. They're not being given any exposure at all. At the women's cricket's equally as bad. And there's only one man there, Mohan De Silva, who I know personally, is the only man that's been constantly good. The rest are a mess. And some of the coaches have had, I mean, Harshan Tilakaratne is someone I've got a lot of time for. He's now a women's coach. The one before was a basket case. He was an absolute nincompoop. I won't mention his name, but I'm talking to you. You know exactly who I'm talking to. You're a nincompoop. He was, I've got a personal gripe with him. He was an absolute fool. All the girls thought he was an absolute idiot. Sorry, it was a mess. Anyway, the reality is that, and he got his position because of who he knew, I reckon. It was not based on ability, that's for sure. Who we got joining us? We've got Mr. Gill has come along with his mask. You look like
Norman.
You look like you're dangerous with that mask on. It's like you're robbing a bank or something.
No.
That's better. Now I'm feeling better. I was about to go like that. I was about to do this. I was about to go like this. Put my hands up.
I'm sure your subscribers who have not been scared of you for so long, they'll find me anything but her.
Oh, you're well loved. You're both well loved. That's why you're on my show, because you're a part of the community, guys. I want you to always remember you're a part of the community, okay? I don't care what you do, how successful your channels are, I'm going to support you no matter what, okay? But I'm going to have better look. But the only thing that I'm going to be angry with, I've got better looking women on my show, okay?
Better looking guys also.
Oh, well, let's not get carried away. Seriously, I'm looking at you now. I'm not getting too excited.
Why would you? You're a straight man. Why would you get excited?
I reckon, Keshav, do you doctor your photographs? Because I'm not sure that you're the same person I'm seeing on there. I think I've seen Enriquez a few times in your face. Was that Enriquez, the singer, the Spanish singer? I'm joking. Gil, I reckon you doctor yourself too. I reckon you put on some handsome. What's the name of that famous Indian actor who's got a father-son thing going on? What's his name again? You know what I'm talking about.
Which one?
Something going on?
Who? The father-son. Aisha Rai's father-in-law. What's his name?
Amitabh Bachchan.
Yeah. I reckon you think. Sometimes I reckon you put his photo on your. That's a good idea, actually. Put his photo on your thumbnail.
I have to get the door 1 second. Huh?
Okay. I'm only
No,
joking.
no.
Gil, you should do that. Put him on.
I like myself enough.
Okay. But you could imagine the views you would get if you say he was coming on. You'd get views coming through the roof. I've done that once. I put someone on there that wasn't going on the show, and people got angry and they go, "Where is that person?" So I don't know. Well, why do you think he was coming on? Because you put his thumbnail. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was an accident. I got it mixed up." No. All right. So, Gil, what do you think about this whole COVID-19 disaster with Punt and Redman Saha? Is this Redman Saha's 7th time having COVID, or what is it, 8th or 9th? How many times has he had COVID?
I don't think he's got COVID. I think he's just been isolated because him and 2 other people from the support staff were in the same hotel. I don't think Saha's got COVID. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, I think the outrage is slightly been, I don't know, uncalled for because they were already on a vacation. There's enough time that they'll recover in time for the first test match. And I think it's fine. You really can't have, because these players have been, some of them have been in the bubble since September last year. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm only joking.
Yeah.
But let me just say this much. In terms of COVID, now, what I'm going to talk to you here about is it should, if everybody's been vaccinated, are all the players vaccinated?
I think they've got first dose they did get in India, and the second one I think they were supposed to get in England.
They've got the second dose. They've got the second dose in England.
Well, then the COVID-19 virus becomes like a flu to them because they can't die.
Yeah,
they can certainly be run down.
Pant is asymptomatic. If you read from the reports that have come out, he's asymptomatic. So yeah.
Well, even Chris Vernon and his dad Richard have got COVID. Anyway, I had my first jab. I had the Pfizer vaccine about a few days ago, and I'm happy. Have you both had your first jabs?
Yeah. I'm due a second one as well very soon.
No, I'm yet to get the first one.
Are you invincible? Are you, Keshav? Do you think you don't need it? Or?
No, I'm just waiting for Moderna vaccine to come to India. I'll get that one.
Yeah. Okay. What about, is that Pfizer? Pfizer's what we've got here, which is really good.
No, Pfizer is not coming to India. We have Covishield, we have Covaxin, and Sputnik, and Moderna is coming very soon to India, which is supposed to have 95% of potency rate.
Well, Pfizer's supposed to be 96% that I've got. AstraZeneca I didn't want. That's got 92. But anyway, yeah. All right. Let's not talk about COVID. But what I'm getting at is the players now should be able to act as per normal. If they're all vaccinated, there's no issue. There shouldn't be an issue. Is that a fair point?
See, it's very weird that with all this cricket happening in England and with the Euro Cup just ending, so much of events happening, and at this time they have eased out the restrictions and mask is not mandatory. All these things, I think it might come back to bite them in the ass. Maybe during the 100 or during India series, if something escalates, then they would have themselves to blame later on and might suffer a few millions worth of loss.
I do see your point, and the reality is that there's nothing wrong with washing your hands, keeping a distance, having a mask on, is there? It's not hard to do. It's not like we're asking for very much, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. It should be really. The world now has to have a look at this. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. Don't touch your face. Have a mask and a clean mask. Simple philosophy, really.
Yeah, but then I think social distancing is again important, and if the stadiums are allowed at full capacity, then even if people are wearing masks or even if they're sanitizing their hands, still, I mean, the risk is still there. So maybe a 50% occupancy would have been ideal, even if they wanted public at stadiums. Because I don't think in the World T20 in UAE, I don't think people will be allowed like this.
No, I agree. I think they should be. They should have like half capacity should be full capacity, effectively.
Yeah.
Gil, are you going through an earthquake? Your car is bumping up and down like there's no tomorrow. Is it a 7.2 on the Richter scale?
Yeah, so these I'm going through a small town near the capital city, and the roads aren't the greatest. So, and because we had rains very recently, uh, you know, the roads are sort of given away. So yeah, the up and down
Or I
like
hope you're
that.
not driving. I hope that's probably work. That might explain it if you're driving and on the traffic.
Yeah, so if you've come to India and you've traveled in India after rains, especially through the smaller towns, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
By the way, what's your Indian 11 for the first game, both of you,
First
For
ODI.
for the ODI? Yeah.
so the ODI
So the
is the
first,
first, followed by the T20s, correct?
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, Dhawan and Shaw to open, Manish Pandey at number three, then 4 and 5. I am split between Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan, and Samson. I feel all three of them should be given 2 games each. And
Oops, I've lost it.
Oh,
Well, he hit a bump. I'm interested to hear what Gil said about Manish Pandey. Is he going to be? I would have thought the other three that he mentioned are actually the three that will get in the positions ahead of him. What do you think, Kesha? Are you going? Oh, you're talking. Gil, I'm sorry, I cut you off because you're getting boring. No, that's not true.
yeah, so I was saying between Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan, and Sanju Samson, I'd actually like all three of them to get 2 games each, and whosoever plays bats at 4 and 5. Number 6, you have Hardik Pandya. Then you have, either Krunal Pandya at number 7 if you want to, go for the seventh batsman. But if India do want to try out both Kuldeep Yadav and see how it goes, then maybe they'll have to go in with 5 bowlers where you'll have Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Navdeep Saini, and Deepak Chahar as 3 pacers, and then one Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav. I personally feel that India should play Kuldeep Yadav in all these 3 games, and they should play Manish Pandey for sure because I think it's time that India take a call on Kuldeep Yadav. He's been out of form for a very long time. If he doesn't do well, might as well drop him and let him play domestic cricket because
Yeah, as opposed to hanging around in the squad all the time, not getting a game. I agree.
yeah, he's been hanging around, and it's not his fault as well. He just doesn't get chances.
No, I think he's been given a really bad rap. Actually, I agree. Totally agree. I totally agree. No, it's certainly right. I think. But Manish Pandey, tell me more about Gil when you get back on. Tell me more about Manish Pandey. I would have had Shreya, Sky Kumar, Ishan Kishan, and I would have had Samson. Why are you putting Manish Pandey ahead of Ishan Kishan, Samson, and Sky? Why is he elevated above those three?
Only in ODIs. Only in ODIs, not in T20s. I don't. In T20s, I'd like India to have Surya Kumar Yadav at 3, 4, and 5, Ishan Kishan and Samson, and then 6 at Hardik Pandya at 6.
Right.
There's another reason why I'm saying that India should have. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. That is a mammoth Indian team. That is a red hot Indian team, really. And they're going to be all firing on all. And they're going to be all firing on all cylinders. They're going to want to do well with Bhuvi Kumar there as well. Spin bowlers. Oh my God, Sri Lanka are going to be smashed.
I hope someone like Navdeep Saini gets all 6 games. The reason why I say that is Natarajan is injured, so you have one bowler who can bowl at the death who's not available. Bhuvneshwar Kumar's injury is also iffy. He's sometimes fit, sometimes not fit. And Mohammad Shami also isn't a safe bet when it comes to bowling at the death in T20s. So India should take this series and see how Navdeep Saini goes. You give him, couple of overs to bowl at the death in every T20 game. You give him 5 overs at least to bowl in the last 10 overs phase of the ODIs, just to see how he can react to bowling at the death and react to the pressure of bowling at the death. Can he get his Yorkers in consistently? Can he mix it up with good bouncers? Because individually he has all those skills. He has a very good bouncer courtesy his pace. He has a very good Yorker because not many people can defend, or restrict the likes of Hardik Pandya and Kyron Pollard in a super over, which Saini has done. So this is a very important series from that aspect. I hope India play him in all 6 games.
You mentioned Mohammad Sharma. He's not there. He's in England, of course.
He's not there. He's not there. So which is why I'm saying that also when he plays for Punjab in the IPL, sometimes he's very good and sometimes he's very bad. So he's not a safe bet.
Yeah. Now, Sharjah Manju said Afghanistan may upset some teams. They may well. So will Pakistan and so will West Indies. They're the teams that will really upset the
Yeah,
apple card for the World
you
Cup
know,
at least.
if we are going to talk about the World T20, if you look at the qualifiers group, there's Sri Lanka along with Netherlands and Ireland. And Namibia, I think. I am not sure if Sri Lanka, can take it lightly and make it to the main group very easily because Ireland are a good team and so are Netherlands. Netherlands have a better bowling lineup than Ireland. So I will not be surprised if Sri Lanka not don't qualify for the main group of the World T20.
Wouldn't that be a disgrace for Sri Lanka? That'd be a huge disgrace because Sri Lanka, pound for pound, should be in that final group, but they're not playing well together. Natarajan, go back to Natarajan for a moment. He's injured. What's going on there? He's been injured a lot lately.
Yeah, we don't. We that is see. This is another thing with the BCCI which I don't like. We really don't have any information on the injury and the recovery and or the rehab period of any of the players who are undergoing injury. We have next to zero information from the BCCI about the injury to Shreyas Iyer. We have next to zero information about the injury to Natarajan. We still don't have an official word out yet from the BCCI on Shubman Gill's injury. So this is something that BCCI really needs to work on because apart if till the time we don't have any clear information, we are just indulging in creating rumors, and that is something that, I'm really not keen on. We really don't have any information on the injury concerns of a lot of players, which is actually, and this is something which happened last year as well when it came to Rohit Sharma's injury during the IPL. When will he be actually be available for the test matches? We really didn't know. So it is disappointing, but I mean, what else can we do?
But I think Shreyas Iyer has been well documented by the Delhi Capitals that he's back on deck and he's now facing delivery. So he's knocking around. He seems to be in a strong recovery mode. Okay, there's one particular man who's asked a lot of questions. Okay, Shaj
Sorry?
Manjuri said the ECB chief said 100 will go on without buy bubble. That's insane. I think it is, but maybe they need to have a break. But then Joe Root has also said that the cricketers cannot live with a buy bubble forever. And that is probably true. You and I probably don't realise the extent to which it must be hard to handle. And even though they're professional cricketers, there must be a limit to the amount of control they can have. And maybe we don't really understand. There's a lot of discussion about the Indian players not going to the Wimbledon and not going to the soccer. Well, the reality is that they did, and they may be better off for it, having the break, that is. I'm sure they were given good advice. They weren't that stupid to go there. But, yeah, we'll wait and see. Okay, so England versus Pakistan, the first T20 today. Yeah, that's another interesting match. England are so, I think, very dominant because Pakistan aren't a bad side. Baba Azam scored 158 in the ODI, but England still persisted and won fairly easily. England's quite a formidable force.
Yeah,
I think they've got a lot of depth, like India. Really, England and India are the two best sides of the short form of cricket. You have to say that in the world. West Indies on their day, New Zealand
they
maybe,
are,
Australia certainly not.
but Pakistan, have to blame themselves for their show. You really can't get all out for 140 in white ball cricket anymore against any side, and you cannot be failing to chase down 240 in a 45 over game either. Apart from that in the third game, Pakistan bowling was all over the place. They were
Yeah,
bowling a lot of half volleys. They kept giving James Wins a lot of width, and I actually found out after that game that how severe was he on any width. The length didn't matter to him. I think out of the 11 boundaries that James Wynn scored that day, six of them were through the point region. And there was one cover drive as well. So Pakistan kept feeding him with. They kept bowling short to Gregory and kept getting pulled. Their bowling plans were actually all over the place on that day.
yeah. I mean, it's frustrating. I feel sorry for Pakistan, really. The amount of time they've spent away from their home grounds, all of the nurturing that goes on there, they've got such talent. They just don't get things going their way. You've got to feel a little bit sorry for them. It's frustrating as well, but you've got to feel a bit sorry for them because they certainly have, like Sri Lanka, got talent, and even Bangladesh for that matter. It just seems to me that I would love to see, with India dominating cricket in the world, you would argue, to have brought Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan with them. Does that make sense? To have them as a stronghold of four teams and have Australia, England, and that trying to struggle to get up to that level. That's what I would like to see. That would make it extremely exciting, something refreshing. Because if Sri Lanka,
In an,
Pakistan, India
in,
all... Sorry? What is that?
See, in an ideal scenario, what you are saying in an ideal scenario, what you are saying will work, but not in the current scenario where there's not a lot of friendship between the two countries. India and Pakistan don't even play each other unless it's in an ICC event. So yeah, I mean you ready?
No,
There's
but
no point.
you
I
have to
feel there's
argue
not a
in
lot of
terms.
point discussing in something.
No, but I mean, in terms of pound
Yeah,
for pound
we can.
quality of players, they really should be the stronghold. Anyway, all right. So let's have a look further here. We'll call out with Rowett. Do you think in the T20 World Cup, do you think Rowett and Kohli will open?
No, I don't think it will happen. I think India will have Rohit Sharma opening with KL Rahul or Shikhar Dhawan only. A lot will also depend upon how the second half of the IPL goes. What are the respective forms of each and every player? So
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think Shikhar Dhawan can't be ignored. And if he performs well against Sri Lanka at this point, he can't be ignored, for example. And KL Rahul can't be ignored. It looks as though
also
Rahul may be given...
numbers wise, he's been. If you look at the last 2 3 IPLs since 2019, Shikhar Dhawan's been the better batsman among KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, and Virat Kohli. He's clearly been the better batsman of all the four players, who we are discussing right now. So it's going to be hard to ignore him. He's really reinvented his game and he's done it very well.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And he has experience, and he bats well with Prithvi Shaw as well. You may even see that. You may see that Dhawan might drag Prithvi Shaw through the system. You just don't know. But yeah, look, India are going to almost. India will be disappointed if they don't smack Sri Lanka in these 6 matches. Let's be honest. India will be disappointed if they don't smack Sri Lanka. Mentally, skill-wise, the whole thing.
India should.
And you should. Not unlike what West Indies have done to Australia, not unlike what England have done to Pakistan. Same sort of dominance should occur. That leaves really the next chapter, which we'll talk more about the next few weeks, because it's only 2.5 weeks away before we have the first test That's exciting, isn't it?
It is, and I hope that we see the best of Virat Kohli once again in the Test series. It's very important if India want to win the Test series, which they can. They have a genuine chance of winning the Test series this time. England's batting lineup is not in great form. India's bowlers are picking up, and you know their batting lineup has experience. This is going to be the third tour for Rahane, Kohli, as well as Pujara. So they have the experience as well this time. So hopefully both of them do really well, and India are able to win the series. And hopefully there's a bit of luck for Virat Kohli, because he lost four tosses last time. Hopefully he wins three of them.
Well, no one could ever blame someone for losing a toss. It's just pure luck. Let's be honest. It is pure luck. And if you have a lot of bad luck, you lose the toss. It's a 50-50 proposition every single time. It can't be seen as a badly understood or bad strategy. It's bad strategy if you win the toss and then elect to bowl when you should bat. That's where a toss becomes significant. It's what you do with winning the toss, which is more significant.
Yeah, what Tim Payne did in Oval 2019, winning the toss and choosing to bowl.
Madness. I think it's pressure. Sometimes the captain actually has pressure on them to the point where they're not thinking clearly. And it's there's been plenty of discussion in several autobiographies where captains have actually have made a mistake. They've actually said bat and then walked away and go, oh my God, I should have said bowl. They've actually had an airhead moment and they've actually made a mistake with what they said. Or they thought they said bat when they said, under the nervousness, said bowl. Incredible stories of people that have actually not realised what they even said. They've said, oh, didn't I say bowl? No, you said bat. And they've literally blown it because they had a blank moment at that moment about what they're doing. Ian Chappell says that story quite a bit. Okay, so discussions about safety versus depression. We won't spend too much time on that. I do get it. I do think there's depression if you bottle up for too long. They need to be free. They need to be able, because once everyone's vaccinated, it has to be treated like the flu. Because when we have vaccinations for the flu, we don't all hide in a bubble, do we? So just common courtesy. You sneeze and cough into a shirt. You wash your hands. You put a mask on. Okay. For the first time, Australia will be the dark horse in an IC. This is a good point. It actually is. No one's giving Australia any hope of making the semi-finals, let alone anything further. Would you agree?
But yeah, but Australia weren't have never been favorites in the T20 format. They've never been.
Yeah, that's true.
Except
It's
for
really
maybe once when they reached the finals in 2010, and then when they reached the semis in 2012. But after 2012, they've never been favorites to reach the semis or something. So yeah,
but I think it's even more dramatic now. It's even more distinct. It's more horrific, really. And their other formats are suffering as well. So it's quite a mess, actually. Okay, who are your top four who are going to make it through the semi-finals for the World Cup, based on the groups?
I think three teams are pretty clear. West Indies, England should make it from the other group. India should make it from their group. Uh, because of the way the group has been made, that India have Pakistan, Bangladesh, probably Bangladesh because they might make it. Because India have Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh most likely, along with New Zealand, India should make it for sure. There's a possibility that you know even Afghanistan might sneak through, because T20 is such a short format, and they do have good spinners that they might sneak through. So the fourth team could actually be a dark horse. It could be between Pakistan, New Zealand, and Afghanistan.
Yeah, but
I'd
you agree
actually
with
like
me?
to see Afghanistan as the fourth team. I'd
Yeah, it'd be
actually
exciting,
want
wouldn't it?
Afghanistan to be the fourth team.
Be very exciting. But yeah, I agree with you. England and West Indies, they're going to win their group. South Africa's got no hope. Australia,
They,
unless they perform miracles.
they'll face some challenge. That actually, South Africa might be in with a chance as well because if you see how Tabraiz Shamsi has been bowling, he's been bowling well. So if they get a slow turner, and who knows, Quinton de Kock may score some runs. If they do put on some runs on the board, who knows? They might sneak in a game or two from West Indies and maybe even England. So I won't be surprised if South Africa do somehow reach. But at this point of time, you would have to say that West Indies and Sri Lanka are, West Indies and England are the favorites from the first group.
And it's interesting because England, India, and even West Indies have got a lot of players to pick from to make their 11s. Okay, even New Zealand, you would argue, have got a lot of players that can make their 11. But and probably even Pakistan, Australia haven't, and nor have South Africa. That's my concern about those two teams. They have a lack of depth to their playing rosters,
Do you think?
and
Do you think? Do you think Steve Smith should be a part of the T20 team?
he won't be. He's almost said it already. And he says that because he wants the Test captaincy back so badly. He's trying to make out that he's going to sacrifice that. I'm actually more curious how many Australians play in the 31 last matches of the IPL. Because one player we haven't spoken about is Pat Cummins, who is, you would argue, the best T20 fast bowler we've got, better than Stark. So he hasn't played at all. I don't think any of the Australians are going to the IPL for the second half. I think Maxwell might and Warner might because of money. And probably Steve Smith will go as well, which means the World Cup. But it's such an amazement. Imagine being there like Steve Smith will be for the IPL, let's say, and then 3 days later the World Cup plays and he goes home. It's a rather bizarre situation, isn't it? The fact that he's physically there, it's amazing. Yeah, it's going to be intriguing. They've got a certain. You've got to submit your squads for the World Cup in advance. You can't make last-minute changes, can you? So they can't look at the form of the IPL and say, "Oh, well, you're playing well. Continue on for the World Cup." I don't think they can do that. There must be a cut-off point. Gil? Are you there, Gil? No, well, we're getting some messages, so it looks like he's lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you back again? Yeah. Did you hear that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, clear as anything.
No,
Did you hear what? Did you hear what I
you'll
said?
have to repeat your question.
Okay. It's
No,
bizarre
I
for the
lost
starters that. Oh, you lost me. Okay. Now, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I was
No,
just talking about.
actually, because I'm traveling, my internet is quite poor.
That's fine. That's fine. I can hear you. I can hear you. No problems. I can hear you. I can hear you. No problems. Okay. But you can't hear me, so I can hear you very clearly. Well, okay. While I'm waiting, I might ask a few questions. I'll answer. I think this T20 World Cup is wide open apart from India. I cannot predict the best. Well, that's a fair point, but you'd have to think that India will be with England and potentially West Indies for sure, as what Gil had talked about there. Marnus Labuschagne played some good knocks in the T20 Blast. What about him? What about him? He's going to be playing for Australia, yes, but he's not the only possibility, and he won't captain either. He's had no experience at captaincy. Playing the IPL in UAE will help for experience, and they can run out of gas when T20 starts. True, they can, but I think the IPL will certainly help the players that are there. Running out of gas, No, because IPL T20 is not as taxing on the body as what an ODI or it's obviously a Test match is. So you can spread it out and time your run pretty well. I think so. No, I don't agree with that necessarily. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, though. But I would say that a lot of players can play on. It's a matter of whether they want to, and how many are actually playing the IPL. The IPL is going to be damaged by the timing of it, and it's so unfortunate they didn't play the 31 games earlier on and got out of the way and had more time to focus on the World Cup. That's a pity, certainly, in that regard. So, yeah, I would argue that that's another issue altogether. So, yes. So, all right. Chinu Singla, we've been talking about the T20 International between Sri Lanka and India already. We're pretty convinced with the Indian lineup. I think we talked a lot about Shikhar Dhawan and Prithvi Shaw opening with the likes of for the ODI format at least. Manish Pandey in there, be up there order. Ishan Kishan, Shreyas Kumar, and Samson, with the likes of the bowling attack, which is pretty well known. Kuldeep perhaps with Chahar, and then you've got Bhuvi Kumar, and you've got Navdeep Saini, and that's the bowling line. We've got quite a bit of depth there too. So that's pretty impressive. So the Indian side will be fantastic. Sri Lankan team, I've got no idea who's going to be playing for Sri Lanka. I don't think Sri Lanka do. I think Sri Lanka got no idea who's playing. It'll be quite a disaster. So India should win 6-0 both T20 ODIs. Certainly the T20s are going to smash them. ODIs might be maybe closer, but I can't even see that happening. India's got a lot more to prove, and it's going to be interesting. Quite a mess. Quite a mess indeed, guys. It's nice for Friday, isn't it? So we've got an audience up here. Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion around the Indian side. There's a lot of discussion around the COVID situation with Rishabh Pant. I don't think there's a problem there. We only move after the series, which is 6 matches in less than 2 weeks. I think it's 10 days or something, or close to 2 weeks. And we go straight into the test series between England and India. We're obviously going to have a match or two of the Australia, West Indies, and England-Pakistan series to come as well. And then you'll have South Africa playing the Islands, and I'm not sure Bangladesh may be playing Australia as well in that end result. While the test series between England and India are on, we'll have a lot more emphasis on what will then become the IPL. And the 100 will also play out in England with the number of players not there as well. 100 will play out. The IPL moving into the World Cup, my God. Then the test cricket, India will play New Zealand. Moving into the Ashes between Australia and England, it'll be just such a massive. It'll be a lot of. By the time January comes around, I think there'll be a lot of very tired cricketers because they're making up for lost time quite considerably. Sumanth Shastri, Pujara, unfortunately, not doing a great with bat. Kohli's back foot defence and back foot attack. He is more favouring front foot defence. Yeah, I think that's going to be different in England. I think he certainly has a lot of ability when it comes to adjusting to back foot play. Certainly. We lost Gill and the 2 that we had on, so that's unfortunate, but I probably won't go too much more longer, but I don't forget we've got a lot more to come. In fact, the timing of the Sri Lanka Indian series is very close. So South Africa, after being smacked previously now 2 for 311, they seem to be very wounded. It was interesting to see what Zampa said about playing West Indies. He said it's very daunting, but it's a lot of fun. That almost tells you that they're expecting them to be beaten, but they're going out there to enjoy it. Because it's a spectacle to be bowling and fielding when you see Gale hitting sixes and Fabian Allen and Hetmeyer and, oh my God, Lendl Simmons and it's just Evan Lewis, who didn't play that well, but he can play well. Fletcher, Russell, Pollard to come back in. Oh my God, all those players are massive six hitters. Massive six hitters. Dwayne Bravo, I haven't spoken about. Oh, and Nicholas Puran, of course, as well. They are just one up. There's at least half a dozen players that can hit big sixes in that team. Scary. And even when it comes to depth, they seem to be probably Andre Russell was a bit too. He let too many full balls in the leg stump go. He should have moved inside them and clipped them, and he would have got several falls. He would have won the match. Okay, he mucked it up that last over. He's done so well previously. Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe. Bangladesh are 9 for 276 and Zimbabwe are 3 for 78. Seems Zimbabwe need 199 runs of 35 overs. Should be doable, but I don't know whether Zimbabwe's got the firepower. Yeah, England versus Pakistan tonight in Nottingham. The T20 match will be interesting. Pakistan probably will favour a bit more in that game. And then you've got West Indies women are playing Pakistani women. In fact, Pakistan women won by 4 wickets in the match with only 9 balls to spare. And then tomorrow, Australia will play in Gros Soleil, which is, that's Darren Sammy Stadium, I'm pretty sure. Bejajour. Lovely stadium. I love that part of the world. It's one of my favourites. St. Lucia's right up there, but no, Antigua's my favourite. Antigua's by far my favourite. Predictions for England versus Pakistan T20 series. You'd have to say that Pakistan will have more chance in that match, but England is still too strong. Australia, this is, I think, one of the most pertinent statements. Australia should consider Chris Lynn. Yes, I think he should be the first drop batsman. Admittedly, Mitchell Marsh did play pretty well in the series, but the rest of the team didn't. Mitch Marsh will not bat first drop in the World Cup, and Chris Lynn should be included. Should have been in the IPL teams as well. He seems to be always just left out. He's enormous player. Actually, he could match the West Indies with firepower, which is pretty rare for Australia to actually suggest that because they really haven't got that much depth in batting. Stoinis has always been underwhelming. Dave Warner, who knows what the hell's going on with him? He'll be playing the IPL for sure because there's money in it. You can be assured of that. But in terms of his play, it's hard to predict what's going to happen there. Steve Smith looks like he's not playing. Labuschagne, well, yeah, he's predictably quite steady, but I don't know whether he's necessarily going to be a linchpin of anything there. I think they're forgetting the fact that, I think there's a lot to be said about the lack of Australian depth in their batting, to be honest with you. Where has Khawaja gone? He's still there. Usman Khawaja was the captain of the Queensland State Sheffield Shield team that won the Sheffield Shield this year, and he's prominent still. Should still be in the mix, but he got on the wrong side of a few people, and that doesn't mean he should be in the side. I think he should be certainly in the test side. I would argue he should be in the test side against England at home. But whether they put him in is the question. There's no guarantee that it'll actually happen, unfortunately. It's quite sad. So Khawaja hasn't gone anywhere. Khawaja is there well and truly. And, there's a lot to be said about Khawaja. And for that matter, Jason Sanger, I've mentioned him a few times. For some reason, he's fallen a little bit out of favour with everything, and he doesn't deserve it. He deserves to be in there. Can New Zealand surprise the World Cup with a T20 World Cup? I don't think they will. Not because they're not good enough, but they're just won the World Test Championship. There's an element of a high that they're coming down from. They're going to struggle against Pakistan in that group if Pakistan play their form. They may get through the semis with England in their group, and the other group will be with India, I should say, and then the other group will be England and the West Indies. They may get through the semi-final, but I would imagine they're not going to win any further than that. People keep talking about Marnus Labuschagne being the next captain of Test cricket of Australia. No, he hasn't captained at any level. Who would ever select a player to be captain of their country if he hasn't captained anywhere at any level? Big mistake. Too much of a learning curve to be playing with or experimenting with at Test level. Yes, I did see the group stage holding on to my hairline. Okay. I hope everyone here is actually subscribed, by the way, because that's always been an issue for me. If you're viewing my session, you make comments, please subscribe, because it only adds to the we tend to lose people subscribing at this time, which is unfortunate. So yeah, so yes, we did the draw. None of the qualifiers will go any further. They may make the group stages 1 and 2, but England and India will head up their groups. England will probably be accompanied by the West Indies. Australia and South Africa, I can't see them getting through. And on the other side, India will be accompanied probably by New Zealand, although Pakistan is certainly there as an option. So yeah, that's my bet. But I think Australia and South Africa will miss out, and possibly Pakistan or New Zealand will miss out in their groups. So you'll see England, India will win their groups, and also probably win their semi-finals, unless West Indies can shake the apple card, and England and India will play the final. And that's the predictability of the World Cup. That's what we're predicting. But whether it actually happens, it can easily be turned on its head. Will Virat lose his captaincy if he once again loses? I said no. I don't think so. And if he wins, it's obviously a benefit to him. But if he gets through the semi-finals and gets to the final stage and happens to lose, he's still worth. He brought another team to the final. That's a magnificent effort. England versus the West Indies for finals. Could happen. Could happen. Let me just think that England will be in the same group as West Indies, so they could turn around. They could both win and they go through. It's possible. It's certainly possible, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. The main thing is to get through the group stage, which they will, and then get through to the so-called final 4. Dave Warner will not captain any form of Australian cricket ever again. It's basically been stated after the sandpaper gate. He will not captain any Australian side ever again, nor will he want to, nor will he be able to. Stevens will be able to, but he may not be selected. Just came on. So what's happening? AP Gunner, we've been talking about India versus Sri Lanka and the fact that India should win 6-0 and their Indian makeup. We've talked about the COVID cases, which we won't go any further on, and the understandability of some of the problems there, and talk about Test cricket, both World Cup and the IPL. We've talked about quite a few things. I had Kashyap and Gill, but they both had to go off. Gill had a bad line. Gaming with Hart. Hi, Norm. What will be the 14s that go into the Super 8? If you meant the qualifiers, well, you'd have to think Sri Lanka and Bangladesh bloody will better be through there, and probably Ireland and probably Scotland. That's what you would predict, but it may not be. Which is necessary for T20s. What do you mean by that? I don't get that question. India or Sri Lanka? India, clearly. Not even a question. Good one is awesome. It's a big. Is the group out? Yeah, the group stages are out. Yes, AP Gunner. We've got. I'll read through it for AP Gunner's sake, and anyone else hasn't actually heard it, we'll go through that now, for the sake of that record. We have talked about it. Let's have a look here. I'll just pull that up. Let's take a second, guys. Everything. It seems like the internet's a bit slow today. Okay. At this point in time, the group stages for AP Gunner are: Group A is Sri Lanka, Ireland, Netherlands, and Namibia. So you would think Sri Lanka and Ireland will go through. Then Group B is Bangladesh, Scotland, Papua New Guinea, and Oman. You would think Bangladesh and Scotland will get through there, but Oman might surprise. Then you would argue winner of Group A, which will be Sri Lanka. So it will be England. Group 1 will be England, Australia, South Africa, West Indies, potentially Sri Lanka, and possibly Scotland. And then the other group will be India, Pakistan, New Zealand, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, and then possibly Ireland in that group. So they're the 2 groups at this point, with England and India heading up their groups. India perhaps being joined by New Zealand, and then England being joined by the West Indies, and then those four crisscross and play the semis. We have got not enough time to go through what's wrong with Sri Lankan team. There's administration problems, there's captaincy problems, there's confidence problems, there's COVID problems, there's corruption problems. They've got everything going on there. No experience and maturity in Sri Lanka, plus board issues are causing it. That's absolutely correct. KL Rahul might replace Punt for the upcoming warm-up games. That's correct. You're a nice person. Thank you very much. Early predictions in Australia have not qualified. Absolutely. For the semis, certainly. I think big chance not to do that. Don't write off Australia, mate. You've got Starr, Cummins, Hazelwood, Warner, Finch, Maxi. Well, Hazelwood doesn't rate at all at the moment. He's bowled pretty ordinary. Stark up and down. Cummins certainly. Warner, you would hope. Finch, I would rate. Maxi, rate. So yeah, they've got some players, but they're not even playing together at the moment. Who's your favourite player in the world? I mean, you got your top five. You got your Williamson, Smith, Coley, Baba Azam, the top five, and Root. I would argue that. I don't think Sri Lanka will qualify. I don't think they are that well. They could well not. Sri Lanka. I don't even know who. Can anyone tell me who's actually left in the Sri Lankan squad? At this point in time, I haven't got a clue. I don't even know who the captain is. Demuth Karunaratne was supposed to be in that squad. I don't think he is. Angela Matthews is pulled out. Chandimal's pulled out. Russian Dickwella, who should be in there, for God's sake, they're making a mistake there. I don't quite know who the hell's left. Kaushal Mendes, Pereira. I don't really know, I'm afraid. I'm really lost for words. I don't really know what's going on with Sri Lanka. I've almost given up. And I'm sure the supporters of Sri Lanka have given up as well. It's abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. What's your opener for the Ashes? Well, Warner, you'd have to say, and we'd have to say Pekowski at this point. How would you rate Cummins, the white ball bowler? He certainly is one of the best. Yeah, David Pekowski, I've already said that. There are a new captain now who has 27 batting average. Forget his name. Captain of who? Australia? Who are you talking about? The Australian team? I mean, Aaron Finch is still there and Tim Payne's there, so I don't know who you're talking about. Asian cricket is kind of dead. Only India retaining its power, all formats. Oh, Pakistan is still there, don't worry. Bangladesh is not really there, but Sri Lanka definitely not there. Because of Pereira, yeah, certainly. Yeah. Sri Lanka, not Castle. Why not play Pattinson in the Ashes ahead of Stark in the Ashes? Well, Pattinson's been left out quite a bit and should be back in there. He's the only one of the real bowlers that can actually match the standard of Australian opening bowlers. Or yes, Pattinson, if fit, should be in there. Nessa's pretty average. Berendorf's not bad, but he seems to be a short ball version. Riley Meredith is way too. He's fast, but not too much. He's too raw. Jai Richards is probably the only one that may be another consideration, but that's it. Australia's got nothing after that. Horribly lacking in depth, our Australia. Horribly. Absolutely horrible as far as the depth is concerned. Ireland upset South Africa. They did, you're right. Ireland did upset South Africa, but at the moment, South Africa are retaliating big time. And South Africa are 3 for 300 and actually 4 for 341 after 49.2. 4 for 341. There's no, I don't think Ireland will get that, but that's my prediction actually. I would predict that's actually my prediction at this point. I wanted you to do that to show that there are really up there. So the 100 is starting next week. Lynn just flew there. He should have been playing for Australia. I agree. I think he's almost given up on playing for Australia, which is sad. England 3-2, you're saying, AP Gunner. I'm saying 3-2 India. That's my thoughts. It's hard to say, but I think it's going to be a very interesting series because it's played in England. It'll test India quite a bit. Yes, it's a circus. I know I shouldn't be saying negative. I know every time a new format comes on, 50 overs, 20 overs, now this is 100 balls, and the next will be T10 and probably T5 next. No, I'm not a fan of it. I just think they've made it cheap. I hate the idea too. I think it's cheap. It's a waste of time. I've got so many other things going on, World Cups and the IPL and Ashes and whatever. Forget about it. Just hoping both Sri Lanka and Bangladesh don't qualify. Some other young teams do. It'll be good for possibly happening. It's rare. I agree. It could be quite an exciting part. So Bandstand Boys finally joined. I don't know where you've been. If you join, can you make it on air? England going to the fifth test. England going to the fifth test. 2-1. 2-1 England going to the fifth. Yeah, you've said it before. You're correct. I think it'll be 3-2 India. You watch England versus Pakistan? Yeah, I have been watching it. And Pakistan, Babazan was fantastic. Would you rather have Robinson, Curran, or Wokes as a former best of police for the T20? Are we talking about? Yes. You're watching England, I'm watching it. Wasn't asked. Well, that's not true. I think I said to Chris, you want to come? Dan said, "What you got?" That's you're always. It wasn't. Oh my god. Oh, that's almost a painful admission to not being concluded. Let me pull that. Let me just get that up. When your son gets the invite, he should have sent it on to you. If I've forgotten, let me have a look here. Oh, Richard, put it on there. Do you want to come? I was a bit sloppy with my sending, so where's Munchie? So I'll just send it to you, Richard, if you want to get on. You're only available now anyway, Reggie. Okay, you've been invited. Okay. We've got, T20 also had lots of criticism when it was starting. Let's see what happens. Okay, I accept that. England's C team is scary. That's true. England, the 100, we're always a bad idea. It's only a bad idea if it becomes too much. If you've got 50 over T20, Test cricket, blah, 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 there's no room. How many days in a year can you play cricket? That's what I'm worried about. It's not about necessarily playing cricket. It's still cricket. No, in England-India tests. What was your question again? So, okay. So, T20 World Cup group division isn't fair. Why is it not fair, Music Army? Why is it not fair? Why is it not fair? I'm sure it was done by arbitrarily picking names out. Yeah, I would agree with that. 2-1 could be. Could be 2-all. There's a draw. But I'm saying 3-2. So I don't think we're going to draw. New press conference in Western News. When England's August the 4th. August the 4th. It's not about one being tough. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I don't think there's anything untoward about it. That group one is a killer group, yes, but it happens that way. That was not planned. Between England and India. That's my thoughts. All right? That's what I would say. I can't see AP Gunner saying England with a name like AP Gunner as a gunner. It sounds like an English name. Anyway, Afghanistan would have been handy against Australia and South Africa with the spin they have. Yeah, but that's not the case. So it's not going to happen. Maybe Australia can breathe a sigh of relief. They're going to try and knock over England and the West Indies. They're going to have a lot of trouble knocking off England, and they're going to have even more trouble knocking off the West Indies, having seen them lose 3-1 so far in the series, but there's over 50 players, is what Bandstat Boy would tell me just now, for sure. So any of you people coming on deck, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe, please, and go to my Twitter and my Instagram and join up there as well, please. This, of course, is the 600th video, with 416 being recorded and a further 184 being live. And this is the 184th live. The previous 182nd was where we had Vikram Kumar, and I put a little short one on recently, last few hours, and now this one. Yeah, hopefully the 200th live, I'll have a big guest, if not before. Australia will go well in the T20. What do you mean? Against West Indies? I've got no confidence about that at all. I haven't got any confidence about Australia whatsoever. Norman, your total viewership. What do you mean? Yeah, it's a bit quiet at the moment. My semi-finalists are India, England, Pakistan, New Zealand, West Indies, Australia. I would say that India, England, yes. Pakistan, New Zealand, that's probably the way that it will be. Yes, I agree. But can you pick between Pakistan and New Zealand? I would say New Zealand and West Indies, Australia, West Indies. Can I get Steve Waugh again? Well, you can't get people on too frequently. We'll try. None of your business. That's none of your business. Ten consecutive balls and 100 is bad idea, because teams can bowl 40 balls with their greatest death balls and concede less runs. It's true. But I guess that's what they want to do. They obviously thought about it. Underrated, they have it all. No, that's not true. I don't believe that at all. Was England in the final? Well, that's possible. Possible. But India will be pretty disappointed. We just don't know. That could well be the final. It could be bloody West Indies versus Pakistan, all we know. We don't know, but we can only predict who'll go to each stage. So South Africa are 4 for 346 in their ODI against Ireland, and Bangladesh were 9 for 276, and Zimbabwe are 505. And looks like they've got no hope of winning that one. So let's look at the South African batters, how they fared. Janiman Malan got 177 off 169 balls, 16 fours and 6 sixes. That's realistically half thing. So Janiman Malan, I don't know, I haven't heard of Darwood Malan, but not. And Quinton de Kock at 120, and then the rest got nothing basically. So I don't even recognise some of those names. So the first wicket fell at 225 when Quinton de Kock got out for 120. He said it looks like the openers were the key in that match so far. Thank you for 600 videos. I think it's in virtually 6 months too, by the way. Yeah. So Birami, Janima means dear lover. Well, did you realise that Norman Kochanek means lover as well? Kochanek means lover. Kochanek, which is, I'm Australian, but my parents were German, but the name is Polish or Prussian. Kochanek, it means lover. Go and look it up. Parami Irani, I want you to look up my last name and see what it means. With one less N, but it's the same. Jalene Milan and Van Duven have ODI averaged about 70. Well, I'm not convinced about anybody from South Africa. I think they got no hope. Hosafa Kane, so Test T20 or ODI. Are you trying to tell me which one will I pick? I'm going to say Test grid every time. Das ist sehr good. Yes, it's sehr good. You can speak Dummkopf, Barami. That's a great comment, Vance de Boy. Now, one day you want to come on, you gutless. One day you don't want to come on and face my anger when you say this. Wirklich. Very good. Very good. Wirklich. Yes. Ja, genau. You rate South Africa high. Saga 03, are you from South Africa? Because you've been talking up South Africa the whole way through so far. How was the Steve Waugh book? It's bloody good. Very, very good. Very, very good. There we go. And guys, I've been on for almost 2 hours, so I'm starting to wane. If no one's going to join me, I'm going to call it quits soon. Test, Hassaif can't stop saying that. Test T20 or ODIs. Test cricket every single time. Test cricket every single time for me. Clear. Not even a question. Not even a question. Not even a shadow of a doubt. Now, we never really feel they're underperforming with the squad they have. No, underperforming where? In the T20 format? ODI? What, Test cricket? Test cricket, the World Test Championship match didn't go their way, yes. And T20 could change it all. Now, yes, they didn't go. Saga, where are you from, Saga 03? Tell me where you're from. And have you subscribed? Saga 03? If you please tell me whether you've subscribed. My favourite autobiography, there's quite a few. I mean, the Keith Miller one's come into play, actually, called Miller's Luck. I think that's a pretty good one worth reading. It's pretty hard to get. It costs over $200 to get now. You can get it online. Miller's Luck, Keith Miller's Luck. Yeah, we know that, bad simple. We know we know. Yeah, what's yeah mean? Yeah means you're from South Africa and you've subscribed. Okay. There was too much cricket with this month. Could not keep up. Well, that's because Baram, you're a bit slow in Singapore, aren't you? Baram's a bit slow. Baram Iran, he's a bit slow. Cheeky, but slow. It's a bit slow. I'm not sure he's hidden somewhere in Singapore. Nurulith or Shane Warne, who is the best? I'm going to say Shane Warne. Nurulith got more wickets, yeah. Bowled extremely well. Deserves his most wicket status, but the best true bowler was definitely Shane Warne. That's not because I'm Australian. Yeah, Barami Arani is limited with his knowledge because he's in Singapore. He's sort of in the backwaters of Singapore. I think he may be on an island off Singapore. I'm not sure exactly where he is. He's on LinkedIn a lot too, I've seen. Yeah. I played for. What does that got to do with the whole thing? Alan's not long, Tom. He's around it. He can't be on every night. People can't be on every night. What's your play with a friend of against Sri Lanka? Well, we spoke about this earlier. Shikhar Dhawan, pretty sure that Manish Pandey was meant to be mentioned for the ODI, but for the T20, I wouldn't have him there with Ishan Kishan, Sky Kumar, in whatever order, and probably what's the other player's name? Oh, Samson. And then he'd have the spinners down with Kuldeep and the like, and he'd have, Navdeep Saini, he'd have Chahal. That would be another batter in there. Another of Jean's injuries. I'm not sure the last bowler would be, but no. What's your view on the T20 World Cup groups? We've already talked about Baram Arani. I've been on for almost 2 hours. We've talked about this quite a bit. But they might be more threatening, but their batters can't. They're not because Pakistan and New Zealand have come in one group. Yeah, that's correct. Will we see Jason Sangha anytime soon? I think Holding my halftime hairline doll. You know that I've talked about that before. And James Sangha, being the Australian under-19 captain, did very well. He played, scored a number of centuries against touring sides. He'll keeps his nose clean in the next 2 seasons. He should be in my prediction. Yeah, I'm always wearing a jacket. It's cold. It's middle of winter. It's July. The 16th is absolutely dead smack in the middle of the Australian winter. Temperature's about 8 or 9 degrees. I am freezing. All right, so I need you to. I've got a few minutes left, guys, before I'm gonna call it quits. So I need to know from you now on my 600th, my so-called 600th video session, 416 which have been recorded, with a further 184 live. This is the 184th live show. Shane Warne has kids. I think it's definitely a son. He's got 1 or 2 daughters. I think he has, and probably a lot of illegitimate daughters and sons running around too, by the way. But now he's got, I think, 3 kids to the one lady. I think Rohit Sharma, you're right. Oh, good to see Rohit Sharma join us. Well, at this stage, it's very hard to say yes because we've got so many COVID issues at the moment. But you would think we'd have crowds, but not full crowds. I don't know. Akash Sahar, hello. How are you? Have you subscribed? Akash Sahar, go on and subscribe, please. I haven't seen your name before. Any previous young cricket kids coming up to play for Australia? Well, Steve Waugh's son, I've forgotten his first name, was certainly in the mix. Thank you very much for that. Are you talking about last night, or what are you talking about? While Windies are so highly rated, but one good pace spell could knock everyone out. Just saying, yeah, well, perhaps, but no, I think if South African fast bowlers are bowling to Western Indian batsmen, especially Gale, they're like, they'll just smack him. Good on him. Austin Wall, correct. It's wholly on the hairline. Is Austin Wall correct? Austin Wall, he's one. I think Darren Lehman's son, Jake Lehman's, still floating around. The Chappells, I don't think they've got any. Can't think of any other. Warner's only got daughters at this stage. Yeah, Richard he claims he wasn't invited. He was invited, so. Some nice comments coming through. I just noticed I picked up a comment there, which is very good. Please, guys, you've got live chat comments I can see. Barama Arani, put the comments also in the post-live session comments as well, if you please could. So, Barnsley Boy, Barama Arani, hi, good to see you. You don't see him. He text messages. How can you see him? See his writing. Okay, Sagar throw. We'll remember you in Africa as well, but I'm afraid they couldn't do well when they had a great side. They choked at the semi-final stage. They got no hope. Since Stokes innings in the headley and Rishabh Pant has got two flavors. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you would argue there's a bit of that there. Why is Australia the greatest sporting country? Well, in terms of time, they were just outdoor people. Weather suited them. Why are you good at all sports? Because I'm just a fit, sexy man, of course. Norman is smoking for sure, Rich. Why am I saying I'm smoking for? I don't smoke at all. Never smoked in my life. I have biscuits. It's my problem. Olympic soccer, basketball, yeah. Well, Olympics is another. I haven't even looked at that. So how did you start your cricket journalist career? Well, it's a long story, but I mean, it certainly came into prominence the last 4 years ago. I had my own TV show through a sort of circumstance. 15 years I've been accredited. I've been running around the media circuit for a while. Okay, Norman, spiky though. Well, spiky because of my beard. As well. Cracking lame jokes. Weed biscuits the best. Oh, Barami Arani. Have you been to Holland lately or something? I mean Australians. What do you mean Australians? Oh, Australia Olympics obviously were very strong, as we always know. Swimming certainly is. We don't seem to be too prominent in much else at the moment. I don't know how we're going to go. I've heard very little about the Olympics. Has been so poorly covered because, of course, well, one thing for sure, we haven't got the numbers. That's right. We haven't got the true conditions to actually, get ready for an Olympics. It's been COVID-stricken. When I started working extra, well, I've known Tabasha's Sen for years. But the last couple of years, and probably more importantly, this summer was when I really got involved with them. Who are you holding on to my hairline dog? Wait, have you gone by another name before? Haven't seen your name it up at all. It's a bit unusual. I've had 2,336,073 people view my YouTube page in just over 6 months, or around 6 months. 2,336,073 views. That's pretty good. And I've helped other channels out a lot with millions of their views, so I've had a pretty good run. Extra Time, Sports Today, Sri Harsha Cricket, Sports Tech, no. India Today, yes. A few other platforms like cricket.tv, another one. I've been on various other platforms as well. But yeah. How much I own through YouTube? $45 billion. It's not relevant. You don't earn a lot. You earn them off the most unusual videos. Some of my videos have been the most profitable, the ones I've uploaded from a media conference, which hasn't involved me at all. Yeah, University of Australia. That's right. But I have a TV. I've recorded 30 episodes on a TV channel called TV Arcana, Arcana, TV Arcana, Arcana. If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see I've interviewed everyone from Monty Panesar, Greg Chappell, Doug Walters, Jeff Thompson, Len Pascoe, a whole host of other Australian players, Monty Panesar, I think I mentioned, Barry Knight, who was an England player, quite a few. So Marcus is maxed out today. That's okay, no worries. There's always another day. So your Australian fans' reaction has over 1 million views on another channel. That's right. Well, it's not necessarily on another channel. It's my work that I collaborated with them. And naturally, there's been a couple on that channel that have got several 100,000. I won 374,000, several over 100,000. Extra time had a couple over 500,000. There was a few over 2,000 or 3,000. My first video with Extra Time scored 250,000 views. It was at the airport in the Test series against India and Australia earlier in November last year. What is your best 11 for Australia T20 World Cup? Oh, God. Oh, my God. I'd hate to say it, but I had Chris Lynn there as first drop. Openers, you'd have to say Warner. Who would I open with? Warner and... I'd even open it with Warner and Chris Lynn, perhaps. Labuschagne may have to be in there. Maxwell would be in the mix. Moses Enriques, Dan Christian. Keeper would probably be Josh Philippe. He may open. Bowlers, Stark maybe, but definitely Pat Cummins. Hazelwood, no. Behrendorff I would consider. Zampa I would certainly consider as well. That would be my lineup. I was brilliant during the India versus Australia series. Thank you. I hope that's continued. Ikansh Chandra, you're back. I can see. Hello. Why do you think which team is better than today? Sri Lanka has ODIs. Pakistan. Clearly. Babar Azam. Brilliant. Sri Lanka's got nobody. I already answered that question. Pakistan, definitely. Definitely. All right. Please share with others to get more subscribers for me, because I'm not complaining, but it's good to keep growing. Don't just sit there and go, oh, you're enjoying it. Tell others. Tell other people that you're enjoying it. And that helps me a lot. And I do appreciate that. We've had a good spike of late, but we're probably it's just probably the time of year. When some of the big series come through, we'll probably go up again. Yeah, so let's have a look at the okay. My newspapers were something I wouldn't see anywhere else, and I hope to bring them back. There's not been a lot to talk about there, and I will bring those back. There's not a lot to talk about today. It's mainly, I mean, I do that. On what's kind of replacing newspaper talk is please acknowledge, have you been to my community channel or community tab? You've got home, you've got videos, you've got playlists, you've got membership, you've also got channels, you've also got about, you've also got one saying community. If you click on that, I update regularly, like a newspaper update about all the things around the world. Have you all seen that? Please acknowledge. Tell me whether you have. Second date tonight, Norman? No. That's the boy. You're going to get off that topic. You're going to get off the topic. I'm going to have to whoop you one. Will India clean sweep Sri Lanka? Yes. It will grow in India. Yes. You are a Vikram. You are like Vikrant Gupta in Australia. Well, that's very nice of you. I take that as a compliment. Of course, during the IPL. Yeah. Will India clean sweep? Yes, I've already said it. Norman, have you been to India before? Is the Pope Catholic? Of course I've been to India before. I've been there many, many, many times. Chandra, if you go to my Facebook, you'll see I've been to India a dozen to 15 times, been to Sri Lanka well over 20 times because I was married to a Sri Lankan. Bangladesh quite a few times. Have you been in? If yes, then how was your experience? If's in the community, good. My experience in India has been always great. I've been very lucky. I can go to India and Burma Jndia to Barsha Singh, Untitled Chapter, meet me in there. Simon Patra, Harini Rana in Mumbai. Sachin Bajaj was there as well. I've been on cricket tours. I played cricket at Cricketers Club of India in Braywatch Stadium. Played in Delhi. Gone to Amritsar for the Vaisakhi on April 16th, 17th day. The only Australian there. I've been to Taj Mahal a couple of times. I went and visited Janaka in Chennai and saw an IPL match in Chennai. I saw the Chennai Super Kings. I've seen Kolkata Knight Riders. I've gone to Eden Gardens. I met some Ganguly there. Went to what's the name of that stadium? There's another big stadium in Kolkata. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I'm not sure Rugby Stadium. It's got a certain westernised name, which is where they had the opening ceremonies there as well. And I went many a time to Kolkata, Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, Amritsar, Agra, Jaipur, Delhi I've already mentioned. A lot of places. Love it. Amritsar is probably a great place. I'd like to see more of it further north. I'd like to see more of Dharamsala and a bit more of that. I've been to Bhutan. I've been to Bangladesh. I've been to a couple of times Bangladesh. I've been to Sri Lanka many times, over 20 times, as I was married to a Sri Lankan. I've been to that whole area. I've been to 103 countries in the world. I love travel. West Indies many times. Have I been to Singapore? I've been to Singapore 38 times. Actually, probably 38 times to Singapore. I know exactly what. Raised on Gill, although I feel it's all crap. For me, is the best bat among the young Indians. Yeah, Shubman Gill's been given a bit of a bad workover. He's very elegant. Eden Gardens, yes, I said that. Eden Gardens, absolutely. I stayed in the Oberoi across the road from it. Went to a match. Went to an IPL match in Eden Gardens and saw an opening ceremonies. And what's the other stadium? What's the other stadium in Kolkata? It's holds 120,000. It's more of a soccer stadium. It's got a Salt Lake Stadium. I think it's called Salt Lake City Stadium. Kerala and Goa. I haven't been to Goa. I must say Kerala. I haven't been to others. The Salt Lake Stadium is right, correct. Shubman Gill to be applauded. He's like a Jason. Jason Sang is very similar to him in performance building. Have I been to Iceland? Yes. Went to Iceland 2 years ago. Went first class. North Korea. Yes. To the North Korea and South Korea. Yes. My favourite country. Them all. I love all. Every country's great. Punt has test positive. Yes, we know that. I won't be able to play for him. That's not true. It looks like he is playing for him. It was really on his 8th day of quarantine. He's playing. The others are Ridhima Saha and Ishwaran, the reserve opening batter, and Bharat Arun. You wish visit our beautiful Kashmir? Not specifically, no. Saunders should be opening. Good chance. He'll be out, if I say next week, plenty of time for him. Exactly. One country I want to visit. Do more of Pakistan, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the Central America, some more of the African countries, and some more of the Caribbean. I've been to a lot of the Caribbean. I've been to Jamaica, Cuba, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis. I've been to Montserrat. I've been to Barbados, St. Lucia, Guadalupe, Martinique, Dominica, and there's a few others there. I think I went to St. Martin and St. Martin. There's 2 of them. There's 12. Can't think of any others offhand, but I've been to there. It's 12 countries in the West Indies. How about Nordic countries? Nordic countries, I've been to pretty much all of them: Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, I mentioned before. Sweden, Norway, Finland, I mentioned, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, the whole of Europe, basically everywhere in Europe. I lived in Germany for 5 years. So I lived in Germany for 5 years. I've lived in Brazil for about 6 months to 2 years, on and off. Sri Lanka over 20 years. Not lived there, but I've been there many a time. I speak German. I speak Sinhalese, which is the Sri Lankan language, and I also speak pretty much Brazilian Portuguese, and that's because of women. That's another story. It was burning hot. Yeah, I still think it's a magnificent thing to say. Latin America, we're going to go through the world here, are we? I've been to pretty much all of South America, Latin America, which is Central America, not as much, but I've done Peru, Brazil, I just mentioned, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Bolivia, maybe a few more in there. Iceland, traveled Northern Continent. Yeah, well, it's a bit like that at the moment, isn't it? Pakistan, I haven't been enough to. It's exactly like India, of course, but I think Lahore is one of the best cities there. Argentina, yes, I've been to Argentina. Been to Buenos Aires, then I went across to Colonia in Uruguay. Done a lot of Asia. Lived in Germany, obviously done England. A lot of cricketing countries. Went to South Africa. Went to Zimbabwe and Zambia. Went to Egypt many years ago. Israel, Libya, Morocco, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. How would you compare Australia to the rest of the world? It's pretty boring, to be honest. It's beautiful, though. You saw my Coogee Beach shows, you would have seen how good that was. You kept me talking for longer than I expected, guys. Holding on to my hairline door. Whereabouts are you from? I want to visit Australia. Where do you want? As a cricket journalist, I went to the West Indies, England, New Zealand, Australia. Obviously, I've gone to Hong Kong for cricket purposes. I've gone to Singapore. I've gone to India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, pretty much all those, UAE, South Africa, I think I mentioned as well. Yeah. I haven't been to Kerala in India. No, I haven't been to Kerala. I haven't been that far south. But I've gone further. I've gone to Sri Lanka. And Maldives I've been to as well. I've been to some of the South Pacific countries, obviously New Zealand, but I haven't been to Tahiti though, but I've been to New Caledonia, and that's the closest. But I've been to Vanuatu, I've been to Fiji, I've been to then New Guinea. My brother lived in New Guinea for 40 years. He's passed away now. On the Caribbean continent, Supposed spin-off bat. Oh, it's hard. They're very up and down. They're very interesting, but have a trip to North Korea sometime. I went to the North Korea, yes. Over toward India many, many times. Been to IPLs, the whole thing. Akash Har told about that before. The Caribbean can suit pace, spin or batting. Look, you would argue that some of the pitches actually, I think it's Trinidad is more of a spin pitch. Antigua's pretty much up and down. Pace bowling certainly would be an argument. Spin bowling, some of the pitches these days are more spin bowling related, actually. It's a lot quieter than last night, I'll tell you, in terms of numbers, but that's understandable. All right. Any more questions? Where did I enjoy watching the cricket the most? I loved going to, for example, Tasmania to Hobart's ground there, Bluntstones. That's amazing. Actually, right on the water there. Cape Town's amazing. Eden Gardens is amazing. Lords is obviously the Mecca. SCGMC did great. New Zealand, certainly Basin Reserve and and in Christchurch, Hagley Oval, pretty good. The All England grounds are great. India, and you got a truckload. And was it Sharkotra? I can't remember pronounce it. On Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bangalore, saw India vs Pakistan there with Shoaib Akhtar bowling. Yes. And they should play with Pandey, I reckon. Should call it Chahal play together. Why not? This is so there in winter when the whole world is somewhere and vice versa. Pretty much. Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere. That's correct. It's direct opposites. All right, guys. It's almost midnight here in Australia, so I'm going to start to consider calling it quits. But don't forget, if you're not to actually view, like, and share my posts, share them, guys. Subscribe to my Norm Koch Twitter, my Norman Koch at Norman Koch, Instagram, Twitter. I've got an actual TikTok one as well, which does pretty well. I'm on LinkedIn as Barami Aram, and a few others do. But I do like my YouTube, certainly. I've been at the Shark Kotler, I can't pronounce it. Yes, I went to an IPL match there. Have you been to watch all for AFL for a long time? But I would argue Sydney Swans, Saga Treasure. All right, I will share a video with a friend. That's nice of you. Very glad. Who was my favourite batsman? KP or Kevin Peterson? No. Favourite batsman of all time would have to be still Viv Richards, probably. And then Brad because of his stature. And Neil Harvey I really like. Steve Waugh I really like. Border and his time I really like. But Viv Richards, streets above everybody else in terms of box office. I mean, Gale's also box office. A lot of the West Indies batsmen are box office. Yeah, it's interesting, the history of cricket. I mean, you can't beat a Viv Richards. And I mean, Kohli has also been knocked because of what appears to be his arrogance and swagger. The fact is, that's what Viv Richards was all about. I think no one ever knocks him, which does intrigue me a little bit because I think you got to be wary that Kohli's a much better player than and a lot of people don't talk about this. He's captained India the most of any other person. 61, I think. Dhoni is 60 now. This is Test cricket. I think Ganguly's around 47. Tendulkar's got 20 odd. Also, Azharuddin, captain for quite a few. Yeah. What is my age? Older than 50. That's all you need to know. Gaming with Hardik. That's all you need to know. All right, guys. I think we've just about hit the wall there. When I'm getting asked my age, we're getting desperate for questions. So all I'm going to say to you for the very last time is view, like, and share all the posts. Go back and look at the old videos. I'm actually also doing podcasts now, which is basically the words that you hear me saying here, but just not the visuals, but the words. And that's on both Spotify and on Apple. I think there might be a couple of other platforms taking it now as well. So like last night's one, will certainly be on. KP, good night. Thank you. All right, guys. So thank you once again. This is Norman Koch. So make sure you view, like, and share. Subscribe at Norm Koch for Instagram and Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned and you'll see more of this here. Norman Koch, help my channel grow. Don't forget the merchandise too, by the way. We've got the shirts, the polos, the shirts, the caps, a lot of things. Cheers, old guy. Don't be cheeky there. I'm just going to make sure that I've just clarified a few things here. Bye, Norman. It's midnight here. I am going. Midnight here? Well, it's midnight where I am too. So are you Puranjay Sajiva? Are you in Australia? You must be in Australia. All right, guys. Take care. There are 5 of you left, so obviously you want to go. Okay, guys. Take care. Again, view, like, and share. Instagram, not at Normcoach, and of course Instagram and Twitter, and then subscribe. Ciao, guys.